Would you please begin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's wonderful being here. At the outset, I would like to thank all of you for giving this opportunity to present. I think India is in the limelight for multiple reasons. One is we are the most populous country in the world, and I think we are the most populous, digitally literate population in the world. So I have been in the startup ecosystem close to about 18 years. So last 10 years have been phenomenal with respect to India in terms of exponentially growing startup ecosystem, adoption of technology in various sectors. Last 5, 6 years, the deep tech startups have emerged phenomenally in India. So what I want to do maybe in the next 20, 25 minutes is quickly take you through the various sectors. I'm sorry, first few slides are very number intensive because that is where the details are. What are the sectors? Where are startups doing? And the role of incubators. See, today I think incubators are the core of innovation in the startup ecosystem. What is the role? And last few slides, I would love to explore, talk about possible collaborations with the Indian ecosystem. Broadly, if you see, there are three categories of startups. One is the tech startups, the deep tech startups, and the inventive deep tech startups. 15 years back, when startups in India started, it was more of the, I would say, the e-commerce buzz which was there, which was also seen as the tech startups. Any entity which is working on development, deployment of technology solutions was broadly seen as a tech startup. Last, I would say, close to 3, 4 years, the deep tech startups have emerged in India. When we say deep tech, essentially it means a startup which is working on predominantly research as its core strength, driven by IP, and which can be commercialized leveraging its IP. Today, if you see last 2, 3 years, inventing deep tech is also emerging. It is furthermore one step apart from deep tech, where we are seeing how can they leverage the power of computing, power of technology, work with campuses, work with researchers to create solutions in multiple verticals. Now, if you see broadly, the Indian deep tech ecosystem has been growing at a staggering rate of 53% in the last few years, starting from, I would say, video analytics to data analytics to IoT, AI. Across sectors, it's phenomenally growing. And lot of tech stack strengths which are there, trends. One is, as we've been seeing last 2 days, right, there's a very strong emergence of AI in multiple verticals, be it healthcare, be it agri. I think the next slides, I would also be talking about which are the areas where artificial intelligence is playing a predominantly huge role. The second one is big data and analytics. In fact, I have also been part of multiple international cross-border programs, specifically on areas like agri, health, where these startups are looking at Indian market in a big way. One is in terms of the accessibility of huge volumes of data, digital penetration to the last man on the ground. So big data and analytics is becoming a big area of application in multiple startups. The third one is IoT, of course. Whether you talk about smart manufacturing or digital health, IoT finds varied applications in all verticals. Then blockchain is also emerging as an area of interest, whether it is financial inclusion to healthcare. There are multiple areas where blockchain is finding applications. And this is one snapshot where I put a snapshot of the type of companies which are there across verticals. See, as on date, as we are talking, India has a staggering number of 140,000 startups who are alive and ticking in the ecosystem. There are about thousands of startups. There are about 3,000 plus startups who are in the deep tech space. The deep tech space is also emerging. See, deep tech, knowing very well, it is a long gestation period, highly research driven. It is also emerging, and the ecosystem is slowly coming alive for deep tech startups also. Now, if you see the industry verticals, which are the industry verticals where these deep tech startups are there in India? One is, I think, with the global economy opening up, environmental tech is seen as a very strong area, whether it is air pollution monitoring to soil quality monitoring to implementation of technology in water, purification, IoT, widely used. Second one is in life sciences. Life sciences cutting across bio, agri, biotech, genetics, cutting across again at the intervention of IT, big data, analytics, right? And the third one is in the area of cybersecurity. And India being a software hub, right? Cybersecurity and rich pool of talent is available for cybersecurity across the country. Cybersecurity could be in the area of video analytics or identifying, verification, licensing, monitoring, multiple areas, right? Then defense, I think last few years, Indian defense sector has opened up for privatization. Till very recently, it was closely held by the government. And now if you see, it is actively involving in startups, seeing how novel, low-cost, fragile innovations can be a part of the defense innovations for government. And the respective graph on this side shows the various startups in terms of the verticals which are there. And this is a slide where I want to spend some bit of time because India from outside, I'm sure for many of you here would look like a huge, attractive black box, but with multiple cross sections of what you need to understand, right? I think the first point, what I would like to make here is on what really happens in a startup ecosystem in India. Who are the major key players? What role do they play? Of course, the first and the primary one is in terms of investors. I think last 10 years is an exponential growth of investors who are keen on Indian market. Investors who are investing in Indian startups, investors who are from overseas. See, the last few days being here, yesterday and today, I've had multiple conversations with investors here. Many of them are very keen on investing in Indian startups, or they also have startups in their portfolio whom they want to bring them to Indian market. So with the deep tech ecosystem emerging very strongly, investors have now understood deep tech is a long haul. So they are ready to have put in patient capital, wait and work with the startups to make their valuation scale up and also their IP grow. That's the first part. Second part, what we're looking at obviously is in terms of the collaboration with academia. See, I think I have been, as I said earlier on, I have been in the startup ecosystem close to about 15 years, right? What started as more of an entrepreneurship initiative in the campuses about 10 years back. Now, if you see mature incubators on the campus are talking about venture studio model, co-creation model, collaborative models. So, I mean, the ecosystem is evolved and slowly maturing towards how entrepreneurs can be supported through incubation, through acceleration, primarily to make more businesses, to generate more money. Having said that, academia is playing a very important role because in the deep tech startup space, 30% of the startups on an average are started by professors on the campus. So they bring in their students, they bring in startups from outside, they bring in founders, and then they do startups together. So academia is slowly evolving to be playing a very important role in this whole startup ecosystem. Then the third and most important thing is growing enterprise focus. Last week, I think a couple of weeks back, I was having a very interesting conversation with one of the top MNCs in healthcare who have a presence in India. They were asking me, is there a way we could work with you so that you could identify startups which are of interest to us? So bigger companies, bigger MNCs, I mean, they always have a problem of making a giant dance, right? So that is where they love the agility of startups. They want to work with startups. So a lot of companies are now trying to leverage the innovations happening in the startup ecosystem, how they can work together, right? And of course, the most important point is effective partnership. So that's one of the reasons I'm also here, right? All of us believe in the power of partnerships, whether it is corporate to startups or investors working together or co-investors working together or working with academia. I think last 5-6 years, there's a very strong emerging trend of partners working together. Even in startups, if you see, I mean, today I saw a news of about Indian startup. There are at least about 5 investors who have co-invested in a startup. So everywhere there's collaborative effort which is happening to see how this whole ecosystem can be strengthened. Now, across sectors, as I was mentioning early on, deep tech is cutting across different sectors. For example, if you look at AI, see, I have been personally involved in the healthcare ecosystem, as I said, last close to 15 years now. Many startups, both international and Indian, are looking at how they can build, use, leverage AI, starting from early, I would say, disease detection to diagnostics to treatment to management, post-hospitalization care. Apart from disease, now it's also entering into allied areas of healthcare. Could be preventive, could be nutrition, allied areas as well. Now, if you broadly see AI startups across India, broad areas are, one is computer vision based startups are into video analytics. For example, there's a startup who's working on video analytics of quality inspection on the shop floor, right? How can we minimize human intervention? See, and when a quality inspector on the shop floor has to routinely inspect, say, 1,000 tires in a shop floor of a manufacturing plant, right? It is impossible for humans to do that. That is where all these interventions come into picture. So this company is now looking at how can video analytics enhance inspection on the shop floor. Then emotional AI platform. There are, I would say, close to hundreds of startups who are working on how can AI be leveraged, whether you're talking about emotional intelligence or intelligence of employees. Post-COVID, there's a huge surge in startups who are talking about mental health. Could be mental health, could be stress, could be cognitive disability, could be in the area of geriatrics, multiple areas of application. Again, as I said, could be in disease diagnostics. See, last week I met one of the startup who's now leveraging AI to see how a particular pharmaceutical drug can be repositioned for another application of a disease diagnostics. And of course, autonomous vehicles is also emerging as a huge opportunity. Now, broadly, if you see, why did I early on mention that academic campuses are emerging as a huge opportunity of innovation? What is happening in India is I think in 1985, if I remember right, the first incubator was set up in India. That's about close to 35 years back, right? From then to now, I think there are about 1,500 incubators, accelerators, all of them hosted in university campuses. Now, what happens in these university campuses, right? One is you'll have, the thought process of having incubators in university campuses is, one is startups have access to research talent which is there, be it professors, be it access to labs, be it access to scaling up opportunities, be it access to co-working spaces which are available, which is what is happening in Korea as well, what I saw. Then IT support which is there. And India has close to 500 global capability development centers. All the top 500 GCCs have a presence in India because of the rich talent pool, right? With the GCCs being there, you have access to technology, access to tools, access to software, access to development support, access to prototyping support, all this on one plate, right? Other thing is, through the incubators, Government of India, I think India is a federal structure. You have the central government, you have all the state governments. Every government, whether it is central and state, has initiatives for supporting startups. Starting from a fellowship program to, I think, $1 million, you will be able to raise pre-series funding from the government agencies. All the government-funded programs are all routed through these incubators. Now, why am I emphasizing so much on academic campuses is, I'm sure this audience here would love to engage with the Indian ecosystem. A clear understanding of what is happening on the ground is very important, right? If you want to penetrate, want to work with the early stage startups in the Indian ecosystem, the best way is to work with academic campuses who have incubators established with them. So the way it works is all the incubators and academic campuses work as not-for-profit inside academic campus. But they have access to research pool, research talent, which is there as a part of the university. This is what I said. The Indian ecosystem has close to about 1,000 incubators across India, funded, and most of them started as sector agnostic, but now they are becoming more sector specific. For example, I think there are about 50 to 60 healthcare incubators which are run out of medical colleges. Right? When there's a healthcare startup, see, for example, I think a couple of months back, one of the Spanish startup reached out to me saying he's working on a healthcare solution, wanted data from a specific hospital in India. So you'll also have to understand if you're working on a specific sector, which is an incubator that is of relevance to you. And there are multiple corporates who run accelerator programs, whether it is retail tech to technology specific, or for example, right from the Cisco's of the world to Targets of the world, everybody runs an accelerator program in India. And the investor ecosystem is, I would say, a mix of what is there across the world, starting from family offices to HNIs, to angels, to VCs, to institutional investors, to international investors. Everybody has a presence in India. Everybody wants to have a presence in India. Now, I think this is the most important slide, right? What are the opportunities for collaboration? Right from the Government of India, I think there is a flagship initiative of Government of India called Startup India, right? They have a partnership with Korea called Kotra, right? At the government level, so there are initiatives for Indo-Korean, especially in the 50th year of Indo-Korean national relationships. Kotra is driving cross-border programs. That's one. Second one is, as I said earlier, there are multiple cross-border programs, be it Germany, be it Korea, be it European Union, be it Japanese. There are cross-border programs which are facilitated where a bunch of startups from India are brought to the respective nation. Bunch of Korean startups come to India, want to explore the market, right? Third one is, I think the easiest way for any startup to understand a local market, either ways, is to partner with somebody local, right? So there are a lot of go-to-market programs for specific countries which are happening in India, right? We are always happy to explore, happy to leverage, happy to support more. Mature Indian startups who feel that Indian market is little early for the technology they're trying to bring in, build in, always look for overseas market, right? So the many startups who go abroad first. For example, I know one startup was building a smart cradle, right? Smart cradle, they first went, explored the US market, now they're trying to come back to India, establish. And there are multiple soft landing programs, right from understanding the ecosystem, registering your company, raising investment, access to data, validation. Many soft landing programs could also be an opportunity. And the best way to do is to partner. If you're looking at early stage startups, best way to partner with incubators. Again, when you're looking at incubators, be very specific on what is the sector you're looking at, what is your area of interest, right? I mean, if you're doing at, for example, if you're looking at space tech, then you should not be talking to an incubator which is focused on health tech, right? The conversation will not go anywhere. I think that was my last slide. If there are questions, I think there are 5 more minutes for any questions. See, yesterday I was talking to a bunch of Spanish students, right? Yeah, I think the students are here. They were telling that they are coming to India for a month or so or a couple of weeks to try to understand Indian ecosystem. I think the best way you should do is talk to somebody locally who's there, who can understand what is it you want, because India is huge. I think we are the most populous country, and each geography of India is a geography in itself, whether it's culture, habit, language, likes, dislikes. So I think you'll have to do a lot of homework, maybe difficult to do it online. Try to reach out to somebody there. We are always happy to help you. See, for us, I think the world is a globe. Any entrepreneur in the world is also an entrepreneur who needs support. So we always say, that is why I think the Prime Minister of India recently said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? The world is one. I always say, any entrepreneur, be not Indian entrepreneur, any entrepreneur in the world always needs support, because I firmly believe entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey, right? When you want to be an entrepreneur, you will need all the support and more. So if anybody here wants any support in India, we are always happy to engage, see how much ever we can support you in whatever you want to do. Yeah. Any specific questions? Otherwise, I'll close. Yeah, thank you so much. Fantastic. Namaste. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.